What's up, guys? So for my second video, I'm going to do it on big data and connectedness. Now, I feel like I had a lot of trouble with this one, and as far as the developing world element, um, I don't think that's something I'm willing to tackle. I'm going to leave that on you guys, and if I do get it, I'll work hard to find something. But I had a lot of trouble with that one. Most of the people that are working on helping infrastructure become relevant in developing worlds, I feel like there'd have to be infrastructure around the electricity supplied to the systems to get them to work. And I was framing it more in an energy context, which is hard for me to drop. So we're going to focus on the developed nation and in this sector, or this particular part of the sector. And so this one's going to be pretty far-fetched because, I mean, I can't think of squat that we haven't touched in big data yet. So as far as my crazy, wacky ideas, here we go. So one thing that hasn't been touched, and is probably the most far-fetched idea, is interstellar networks. So, whether you believe it or not, and I think it's got to happen one way or the other in the future sometime, is we're going to have space networks that go God knows where, and they're going to have to communicate one way or another. So whoever puts the infrastructure in first is going to be the first infrastructure that gets utilized. Therefore, makes any of the profit, if there's any profit to be made, out of what happens there. So I don't know how to do it, but there's one idea. But as far as down-to-earth ideas, one of the biggest problems as far as big data goes is privacy. So we're all familiar with probably SOPA and PIPA. If you're not, SOPA and PIPA are abbreviations for legislation that was trying to be passed within the federal government to regulate internet privacy. And without going too in depth, think of George Orwell's 1984. So one of the things that Apple is doing, and just to bring this up as an idea you could look into, is at the current stage, if a police officer has reasonable cause to pull you over because you're texting and driving, they may or may not be able, depending on the state, be able to take your phone and search your phone. Now, that could be seen as an unreasonable taking, but an unwarranted taking of property in some cases. But in other cases where it isn't, there has to be something that is there to protect the consumer from incriminating them further for whatever reason, honestly. And I feel like people like Verizon and Apple and all these big telecommunication companies are going to have to put something in that protects their consumer. So there's one avenue you can look at. And on the same note, and this is probably my last idea on this video, but I'm sure I'm going to think more over dinner, is car and cell phone texting issue. So we're all familiar with it. It creates tons of accidents, but how can we create a new way to get around that? And I think it has to come from the automotive companies. Straight up, I think it has to be an adaptable solution in each and every car. Because if it's not each and every car, it's going to be inconsistent, and it's going to make the consumer think they have to work harder to do something, and that's what they don't want to do. It should be a simple solution. So, as far as my solution for that one, it could be uh, as simple as a USB um, device that works with that connects into the vehicle and could plug into, I don't know, the 3.5 jack in your phone or something. I don't know. We'd figure it out. But that would that would give you instant access, if you do have a smartphone, to apps like music and texting and stuff like that. It would all be voice activated. And I know there's companies out there, tech companies, that have worked on even hearing your voice and locking onto your voice over your music or over ambient volume or sound. So when you're driving, making this little device not only cheap and affordable, but uh, simply universal for cars, uh, could be an avenue which we take um, in order to get rid of the issue. Let's see. Let's see if I had anything else. Oh, also, one other thing. So in my last video, I touched on society gates and what, if you're not familiar, if you didn't watch that video, what those are is they're they're life-size, probably like 7 foot tall, 8 foot tall structures that are big video screens, and they would say, for instance, we have one screen here and one screen here. They'd both be communicating, and it could be communicating halfway across the world. So it would just be like a web chat or a web talk, just like we would be having now. We'd see each other's end and see the faces that are coming through the cameras. And in that context, in the Society Gates context, you'd see maybe a public space in Italy or France, and they'd also see in Italy or France, they'd see the public space within the U.S., and you'd be able to communicate, say hi, wave hi, whatnot. And these aren't my personal inventions. I've seen these before, but I'd love to see them implemented more often. That's all I got for big data now, but I will definitely get back to you after I'm done with dinner and see what I can do. Alright, have a good one.